mention that last one first. Defy is if we can get individual citizens to basically not go along willingly with the exchanges, not sign up for the government insurance, burn their Obamacare card, as we put it, we might help to hasten the collapse of the exchange. That's if they go into effect. They take effect January 1. People start enrolling October 1. So we're about 60 days out from this program finally starting to gin up in a serious way. Administration wants about 7 million people to go into the exchanges by the end of March. They need 2.7 million young, healthy people to patriotically pay more for health care than it's worth to them in order to subsidize old guys like me. And if we can thwart that through getting them to burn their Obamacare cards, we might have a chance to accelerate the collapse. That's assuming we don't succeed on the first two, which are defund and delay. On delay, the House passed a bill delaying the individual mandate, the linchpin of this law, for a year. It's sitting in the Senate. We'd like the Senate to act on that at some point. But right now, all the action is defund, because that's the one thing where we have true leverage. The House, it originates money bills. It just did not appropriate money to fund this thing further. And Ted Cruz has a bill that we strongly support. It would basically say the federal government cannot provide funds, cannot enforce or implement Obamacare any further. So our hope, the real goal of the defund thing is to put that Ted Cruz bill on the last appropriation bill that goes out at the end of this fiscal year. So October 1 is when the current federal funding expires, and they have to appropriate for the coming year, and we want the Cruz language on there. That's what Mike Lee is fighting for. And if that doesn't happen, then it's possible there will be no appropriation, and you'll have a government shutdown scenario. But in that scenario, Social Security and Medicare and all those things continue. It's really just stuff like national parks and FEMA and a bunch of other things that where a lot of these so-called non-essential employees will have to get an unpaid vacation. EPA. Energy. So it would be bad. But you know, Republicans are nervous about that. We went through this in 95, 96. And although the reality is Republicans were not hurt badly by it politically, and in fact it improved public policy in the long run, the myth is that they were devastated by it. They're afraid of that. So that's what we're up against. So what FreedomWorks is doing right now is we're focusing on getting senators to sign Mike Lee's letter saying, I will not support an appropriation that funds further implementation or enforcement of Obamacare, period. And we've got 15 senators on board so far, and some senators have taken their names off it under pressure from Mitch McConnell and the Republican leadership. So we want to make the August recess about all of us going to town halls with our senators and saying, have you signed Mike Lee's letter? Why haven't you signed it? Or why'd you take your name off it? What's going on? Just put the pressure on them. Very simple message. We have a similar letter in the House, by the way. Mark Meadows of North Carolina is circulating it. We've only got 60 signers in the House on that, which is a significant share of the Republican caucus. Unfortunately, John Boehner and company are not interested in defund. They don't want to fight on this. They don't want a government shutdown. So, in a sense, the Tea Party is fighting the establishment, once again, over something we care about, which is stopping government-run health care. So anyway, I've gone on for what feels like about 3 hours.
Any comments from Tea Party Patriots? I know you guys are here.
So, I have a practical question. I'm old, and so we're under Medicare, and we have a supplemental. Now, will any of that be affected by Obamacare in the next 5 years? That you know of?
No, except Medicare gets cut pretty significantly under Obamacare to help pay for the new entitlement.
Right.
So you may find it a little harder to get an appointment at the doctor's office. You may find some services won't be covered.
It's already happening. They're also cutting Medicare Advantage, and the amount that they're paying doctors is decreasing under Medicare. For 10 years, it'll be less than what they're currently being paid under Medicaid. and the doctors aren't accepting Medicaid.
Right. So you want to say
So,
something?
yeah, so, Matt, thanks.
Your name?
Kevin Newman and with Tea Party Patriots, and I want to thank Freedom Works for letting us come. This morning, we were planning on having people outside to greet the senator. We found out that they were having a watch party, and they were kind enough to let us come up. So, Tea Party Patriots is focused very much in the same direction as Freedom Works. We're encouraging people to sign Mike Lee's letter. Interestingly enough, every single senator on July 10th signed a letter to President Obama basically saying it wasn't right to implement Obamacare because, he unilaterally said that they're going to halt the employer mandate, and then they said that they're going to veto what the House passed, which doesn't make any sense. So we're focusing pretty much on the same thing, putting pressure on the senators who have already said they're against Obamacare to sign Mike Lee's letter and commit to not funding NCR.
One thing I would mention, and we got about 4 minutes before we have to pay attention, but we're doing a cool event with Young Americans for Liberty, and we think that the number one opportunity is to convince young people that this is a raw deal, and this is not only probably the number one targets and victims of Obamacare, but they probably are a defining swing vote in the last election and the next election. So we're encouraging civil disobedience, and we want them to burn their Obamacare cards. If that sounds familiar, I see some of you guys from the Vietnam War. I'm not going to name any names. But the fact of the matter is the penalty is much lower than complying with this cross-subsidization of giving your
How does a
money.
young person get an Obamacare card?
Well, there is
Print it
no
off on our
official card.
website. Well, there is, it's a figment, right? It's a representation.
Basically, they have to go online and sign up online at the exchange in their
Oh,
city.
And
Now,
you'll
which
get
doesn't
an
exist.
insurance card out of that, I'm sure.
There'll be some kind, an email or something that tells you you're signed up.
One more comment, and then we're going to turn the TV back on.
How many of you here are from Virginia? Okay, good. This is very important. On Thursday, I was at Heritage Foundation and listening to a lecture by Grace Marie Turner from the Galen Institute, and she said that that Virginia is critical in terms of getting Obamacare defunded, and it starts by stopping the Medicaid expansion. There is a committee that is reviewing, and we need to make ourselves very visible and pursue them. There is a very important meeting on August 19th. I'm gonna give him all the information, and maybe Freedom Works can pass it on to all of their followers or their members. But if we could, show up at their meeting, to make our sentiments known that this will definitely ruin healthcare in the United States. I think that would be very helpful towards your goals. So, and it's called MERC.
MERC, Medicaid
MERC.
Innovation and Reform Commission. If I could just add, I'm working with a team that's fighting it in Virginia. We have created small business card size. It's got a cartoon on the front, talking points on the back. I have a supply of them here with me today. See me afterwards if you want to help distribute them. All right.
And guys, we want to make sure that you're kept in the loop on all of our Virginia, Maryland, DC activities. So we put a couple of sign-up sheets here on our front desk. If y'all could leave your email and information, we want to let's keep the group together. We'll keep everyone posted on progress with the Burn Your Obamacare card, things like that.
I have a comment. The navigators in California, there's $1 billion that's being spent on navigators. They're community organizers. Their number one priority is to register voters. I mean, this is community organizing on steroids, this navigating. That's the only thing Obama knows. Community organizers steal elections. That's what community organizers do. That's what this whole thing is about. It's trying to get a Democratic majority for the rest of our lives and our children's lives. And we're going down to the socialism, communism hell if we don't get this thing stopped right now.
Amen.
I just want to point out, we have Virginia's